Alright, it's now August the 6th. It's been about a month since I recorded anything out here in the potato patch, and a lot has happened. The Kennebec, Yukon Gold, and half the russet have been harvested. I'll show pictures of what I got shortly, but about mid-July we started getting hammered by either late blight or early blight. I don't actually know which one it was. I could figure it out pretty easily because the Kennebec did have an initial resistance to it, but the rest of the Yukon Gold and the russet got completely smoked. You can see the remains of the russet here. This is the final row, and they're just lovely, nice and toasty. They got cooked pretty good. In total, I'll probably get about 50 pounds of russet, 50 pounds of Kennebec, and about 40 pounds of Yukon Gold, and they were all noticeably smaller than the seed potatoes that I put in because they got terminated by the later early blight or whatever it was. But for the first time growing potatoes up here, honestly, I'll take it. These are the remains of some of the Kennebec, and this is the last row of russet that I have. These are the Kennebec. There's some pretty good sized ones in here, but most of them are like this, very nice and small. They're very nice and tender, very tasty. The Yukon Golds were anyways that I did have, but not a blockbuster yield by any means. I have a bunch of things going on in the fields out here with cover crops, and I'd like to share them. This top field here, I burnt it off about 3 weeks ago with 2 rounds of glufosinate, Liberty Ultra, whatever you want to call it, and I planted into it buckwheat. It was a mix of weeds, clover, peas, and oats. You can see the remnants of the oats. But I just broadcast spread 50 pounds of buckwheat into this little 1/3 of an acre plot here, and it's actually coming out quite well. I will say you definitely need a good rain after planting buckwheat. I planted this 2 weeks ago, and for the first week after I planted it, we didn't really get that much rain, and so very few buckwheat germinated. Then about a week ago, we got some huge rainstorms, and this is greening up quite nicely with all the buckwheat. You can actually see which buckwheats germinated before the other ones. Like this one is more mature than all these, which germinated after the really heavy rains. And the coverage, I might say, is quite good. The idea with buckwheat in my cover crop rotation is to smother weeds, essentially. Buckwheat has a few good qualities. One, it's very short growing cycle that allows me to get it in and then get it out for another cover crop or a cash crop. Number two, it grows so fast that it smothers weeds, so I will continue to spray it, but I don't really have to. And number three, it decomposes so quickly that I can crimp it, terminate it by crimping it or spraying it, and it'll break down within 4 to 5 days, and there'll be a nice dead patch here ready to broadcast more seed into. So for someone like me who does not have a seed drill that can no-till drill cover crops into the ground, buckwheat actually works great with broadcasting seed. And just broadcasting it, I didn't even roll this or anything, and it's germinating beautifully. I'll be interested to see how it comes out, but this should be ready to terminate in 4 weeks, I'd say, 5 weeks, and that'll be perfect timing to put winter rye in for next year's pumpkins, because I will no-till pumpkins into this plot here. One thing that I will note for the rye that I have learned this year, because it was the first year doing it, is that you really do need a very thick stand to prevent weeds from coming up. Now, in this little section here, it's probably less than even a third of an acre. I put in 50 pounds of rye, which is above 150 pounds per acre seeding rate, which is, I think, like 3 times the recommended seeding rate. And there is still a ton of weeds coming in here. Obviously, right in here, there's not that much because I have sprayed it occasionally. But it's crucial, especially with pumpkins that will get stressed very easily, that you minimize the amount of weeds. And there's just not enough rye here to keep the weeds down. So what I'm going to do to fix that, this rye was planted, I want to say, like beginning of October, maybe end of September. I'll check my notes. But it didn't really get that big before the winter. And so I think if I plant maybe 2 weeks earlier, it'll be able to establish better, not get, I don't think there was any winter kill, to be honest, but just survive the winter a little better and be able to get big enough to a point where I can crimp it and get a nice lay for pumpkins. Because even though the pumpkins do look decent, they're going to be stressed and they're not going to yield as plump, as fertile fruit as they otherwise could have. So something like this, right, that's actually not disease. That's just the plant getting stressed. I thought it was disease. I thought it could have been something like phytophthora blight or something like that. But I actually talked to my extension agent and they were like, no, that's just natural die-off because the plant is stressed. And I think they were right, because it's August the 6th and we don't have any diseases up here in Vermont. There's no powdery mildew here. There's no downy mildew, nothing. That comes in September. And I don't really have to worry about that. But the plants that are, I mean, this thing looks quite good. That actually looks like, let's see if I can focus in on that. Looks like could be vine borer damage, I'm not sure. But these are all jack-o'-lantern pumpkins up here. They're much more vigorous than the decorative pumpkins in the lower half. And they don't really care if they're weeds. But they are beginning to flower, which is nice. There are patches right like this where there are no weeds, and then other patches like over here where there are tons. And the only real solution to this is cover crop rotation, minimizing the amount of weeds in your fields year after year, and just growing a thicker stand of rye. Finally, in this lower third quadrant this was also the peas, oats, vetch, clover, weed mix. And I attempted to kill this off like a month ago, but it would not die because I am incompetent with the sprayer and keep missing bits. So like here's a completely alive oat. So I sprayed this yesterday. Hopefully that will kill off the remaining green bits. But today I'm going to broadcast oat, tillage radish, and vetch mix into here. Hopefully to get winter killed this winter. Doing that will probably give 2 to 3 months for the radish to grow. Obviously the vetch will come back in the spring, but next spring I'll terminate that, put in a new cover crop, ready for pumpkins the next fall. But I'm sort of torn over how I should go about this, because the buckwheat really succeeded well. just being broadcast into conditions like this, and you saw how well it germinated. I am sort of torn over if I should wait till I have a flail mower, flail this, mulch it down really nice, and then broadcast into it, or if I should roll it or crimp it and then broadcast into it. To tell you the truth, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So honestly, I might just do a test, see which one comes out better. I'll roll one section, I won't do anything to one section, and then the final one I'll wait till I have a flail mower, I'll flail it, and see which ones have the best results. It won't be apples to apples because I will put the next round in about 2 weeks, which will be pretty late for tillage radish. It's already getting pretty late in the year up here to put in tillage radish, but farming is all about experimenting, and you don't know what works for you until you've tried it. So that, I think, is what I'm going to do.